So we got a full-on interview from the man himself, Masashi Kishimoto, and this interview was taken literally 12 hours after he finished writing the last chapter of Naruto. I'm gonna read a little bit of it, give my thoughts and input on what he's saying and kind of my feelings on it. And I definitely want to hear what you guys have to say after hearing a little bit of this, because it's definitely insightful, touching up on, you know, his feelings with One Piece and a lot of other different things. So yeah, stay tuned. Starting off, they asked him, what are you feeling now? And he basically replied, because I just completed the last chapter 12 hours ago, I don't really have a feeling that Naruto's ended. Basically, when he did this interview, it was like, oh, I just finished it. It's not a big deal. I have had to meet a deadline every week for 15 years, so it feels like that deadline is next week. And to be honest with you, while it is sad for me and I've had my teary moments or whatever, ultimately, it still hasn't registered for me that Naruto, the manga, has ended. And, you know, I've been reviewing this nearly consistently every single week for 4 years. So for me as well, I can completely understand, and I can only imagine for 15 years writing day and night, drawing day and night. So yeah, within 12 hours, you're not going to feel anything. I've thought of many things to do after Naruto ends, but I do not know where to begin. I want to do something other than manga. Don't worry though, I will continue creating manga, which I'm pretty sure that means that, first of all, the spin-off is most definitely going to be by him, which I don't get why people are saying that it's not going to be by him. People are getting a lot of things confused because there's a couple things coming out. There's a huge project with Naruto that's popping off after, you know, now that the manga has ended. There's the side stories, there's a Kakashi side story and a couple other things. Those things are going to be handled by somebody else. Likewise with the novel for the last Naruto, the movie. However, if I'm correct from what I've read from Anime News Network articles and different things like that, he's definitely writing it, and he said he's going to continue to create manga. And to be honest with you, with that being said, I honestly think what I said is legit, and I think he'll do the spin-off and it'll start off as a mini-series to see if people still give a fuck, and if he gets a good reception, good sales, good rankings, it'll probably become full-time. If not, maybe it'll get moved to a different magazine and be full-time, something like that, because at the end of the day, money talks. When did you decide how to end Naruto? And he basically said since he first started, he's been determined to end the manga with a battle between Naruto and Sasuke. So he basically was going to end it with them two fighting one way or another, because that's how he pictured it from the very beginning. That's why he built them up on opposite sides throughout their journeys. It's always been Naruto on one side of the spectrum with Sasuke on the other. So he had that in his mind from the very beginning. So people saying he was just catering to the fans. No, he was catering to his vision from the get-go, and I respect that. He stood true regardless of what it may have become. Ultimately, that's what he wanted to do. That was his vision from 15 years ago. I later decided on the details little by little, such as whether they would fight each other as friends or enemies, their feelings, dialogues, while I was drawing the series. And around 2 years ago, I began to feel the story was approaching the finale. And it's around 2 years ago when he started saying, yeah, might be a year or two more before I finish it. That's when like a lot of these interviews were coming out, and it makes sense. He didn't know exactly when it was going to end, but he knew he was drawing the conclusion, so that's why he kept on coming out and saying, it's almost over, guys, it's almost over. It's funny though, this one right here. When the series started, the editor responsible for my work told me, continue the series for at least 5 years. The tough work of continuing to draw Naruto for the weekly magazine occasionally made me think that I would like to finish the series. I did not think Naruto would last for 15 years, so he initially was only going to do Naruto for 5 years, which, if I'm correct, that probably would have ran into the end of part 1. I don't know how many years it took to do part 1. Probably when he got to that particular point, it was like, this is successful. Ultimately, he still had more ideas and kept it going. The story lasted for such a long period because the characters stuck it out. When I attempted to quickly offer an answer to issues raised in the story, the characters did not allow me to do so. If I had made them act as I wished, the reality would have been lost. So maybe a lot of the time when he felt like, yeah, this could be ending soon, ultimately things would arise where it was like, okay, how would this character react to that? And again, we're not professional writers like this man, been doing it for 15 years, so we can't really say for sure. Like, I'm sure not everything is like, oh, this character and this. I'm sure there's a lot of other things involved, but definitely him prolonging the series and continuing on had to do with a lot of ideas and a lot of things of like not being satisfied with where he had worked to. Because manga artists are always working inside rooms, it was difficult for us to see firsthand if our works are really popular. It wasn't until I received many fan letters from overseas that I realized Naruto is popular outside of Japan. Some of those letters are written in languages I don't even know. So I understand that my work is read by people in various countries. Yeah, pretty much. I mean, if you've read Bakuman or you just heard a little bit about the industry, these mangakas, they literally just sit in their room all day drawing and writing and drawing and writing. And to do that for 15 years and Oda continuing on, I gotta applaud those men. Here's an interesting one. Were you conscious of One Piece? I think that wasn't a question that needed to be asked, to be honest with you. I think anybody can make a deduction that he knew about One Piece. Hello, it's the same company. It's one of the most popular manga of all time. I think he was aware of it a little bit. It is impossible to be unconscious. Both Naruto and One Piece are serialized in the same magazine, and One Piece has always been running ahead of the pack. I have been able to work so hard writing Naruto thanks to One Piece. So basically, One Piece's massive success has been one of the things that probably inspired him. A lot of time, maybe he was like, damn, you know, One Piece is just so ahead of everyone. I would love to catch up to it someday. And maybe that's what inspired him to do better. You will turn 40 on November 8th. How do you feel about that? So happy belated birthday. Apparently it was November 8th, his 40th birthday. Crazy shit. He said, I remain a child in terms of mentality. Nothing has changed from age 25 when the series started. I just worked at the desk to create high quality, interesting manga, and 15 years passed before I knew it. Damn. So in 15 years, I mean, things have happened for him. Maybe he's being a little bashful because I know it's part of Japanese culture to be a lot more modest and downplay. I mean, he's had a wife, he's had children since then in those 15 years, so maybe he's just downplaying it a little bit. What would you want to tell your old self? I hope to tell my 23, 24-year-old self who painted Naruto and other characters on copy paper just as I wanted on the veranda of my family's home. Cherish him. You will write a serial manga for 15 years using the character. I'd imagine he never in his wildest dreams when he was doing that thought, gee, this is going to be one of the most popular manga of all time. Like, yeah, I'd imagine he was just reminiscing like a motherfucker right there. And last but not least, on the last, Naruto the movie. He said, the latest film is a love story. It will depict what happened between chapters 699 and 700 in the manga. I designed the characters and helped make the story. Although I wanted to write about the romances of Naruto and his friends in the manga series, it was too difficult. I am not good at writing romances because I feel very embarrassed when I'm trying to do so. That would explain why he just barely hints at certain aspects in the manga, like when Hinata confessed her love to Naruto. He probably was embarrassed when that happened. He probably was like, fuck, you know, I'm going too much into this. So that would explain a lot, where as far as like his whole thing goes with this and kind of why he prolonged it and kind of why a lot of people are upset with like some of the pairings at the end, especially like Sasuke Sakura. Like, he himself admits that he's not the best at that. He's not a romance manga artist. He's a shonen. And that's pretty much the entirety of the interview there. I will link it in the description so you can check it out for yourself. Kind of interesting to see, first of all, him talk a little bit about One Piece, talk a little bit about that he's going to continue creating manga, which means the miniseries, and who knows, maybe something even after that. Maybe he has more ideas for a new series, although, to be honest with you, it will be really difficult, not only in terms of popularity, but just in terms of everything combined, to top Naruto if he was to start a new series from the ground up. I mean, 700 chapters, 15 years, huge shoes to fill. But that's all for this one. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed. If you liked anything I had to say or Kishimoto had to say, drop me a like. I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed, if you can do so as well, that'd be awesome. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day.